All right, guys. So welcome to our client-only webinar on booking yourself on TV. And I know there were a bunch of you that were interested in this. And of course, we're recording this. I just hit the record button. And this will be up on a page. If you may be watching the recording of this. And I'm going to have a bunch of different resources that will be on this page as well. So for those of you that are watching this live, when we put the recording up in a few days, the resources that I have for you that I'm going to tell you about on the webinar will be on the page as well, just for you guys. So if at any point the sound gets a little funky, that does happen sometimes with GoToWebinar and with the internet. So just let me know. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. All right, so book yourself on TV. I hit the record button, so we're going to go. I'm going to be moving, at a pretty good clip, but I have a lot of different things to share with you. If you have any questions at any time, do me a favor and just type them in the chat box, and I will get to them. I have a spot at the end for us to get all of your questions answered. Okay, so let's deal with some of the basic stuff first. Why be on TV? Well, besides being on TV is kind of cool, what's the real value of it? After all, most of you are not selling, household goods or vacuum cleaners or things of that nature. It's not the Home Shopping Network, etc. We're talking about getting on the news. We're talking about getting on shows that feature human interest stories. And besides the cool factor, what is the purpose of it? So let's talk a little bit about why to do it first and foremost. Number one is mass exposure. Mass exposure. There's still nothing like television to get your message out and to get it out to the largest audience at one single moment or in one single clip. There's still nothing like TV. There's been a lot of talk lately about how TV's dying. Statistically, actually, TV is growing faster than it has in like 2 decades. And obviously, it's very segmented. We have, hundreds and hundreds of channels, but that's also very cool because it gives you an opportunity to still get your message out to the masses and yet segment it like you would, by advertising or by being on shows that feature your specific population. So number one, mass exposure, still the best way to do it. Number two is credibility. I'm talking to my authors, and if you finish the program from the standpoint of your book being launched, then I'm talking to best-selling authors. That raises your credibility to a whole new level. The interesting thing is when you add the credibility of being a best-selling author to being on TV, it's like exponential. It does some really cool things, and even in a very, very short period of time, I have seen that. As you guys know, I just got back from kind of the first leg of my television / media tour, and was all over. Booked myself. Michelle here in our office, who runs our PR division, booked me on 8 different spots all over the country, from San Diego and Bakersfield, California, to Wichita, Kansas, a couple of spots there, down into Texas. I still have to go to Spokane, Washington, and then on to Burlington, Vermont. And the reason I chose Burlington is because it's beautiful and snowy, and I'm going to take my wife away for a few days, so that ought to be a fun little trip. Anyway, first of all, I started in smaller markets because if you're going to screw up in front of a lot of people, you want to do it in the smallest market you possibly can before you try to book yourself in New York or LA. Plus, media loves media, so you're going to build on it. Anyway, credibility. It brings your credibility to new levels, and having a best-selling book and the credibility of being on TV, not just once, but over and over and over again, will do some amazing things for your business. As I've already seen on social media, the number of people, new clients, etc., that are coming to us because of seeing me featured on television. So that's number two. Number three, why, is the new opportunities that will come knocking on your door because of, again, this credibility, in addition to this mass market that you've put yourself in front of. Some of these things you probably know, but it's important enough for us to restate. It's not just about, wow, it's kind of cool and it would be neat and I wonder what it would do. No, there are real specific and powerful results that you can get from being on television. I was on TV in San Diego. That was actually the first spot I did, which was a little scary because San Diego is a big market, 3.5 million people. I was on Fox 5. In fact, it was cool. I was in the green room with Ben Vereen and talking to him about my best-selling book and asking him if he was interested in doing a book. And then these two lady doctors came in. And if you're in San Diego, you may every now and then catch the show, but they do a recurring segment every Tuesday called Ask Dr. Mom, and they're both moms and are doctors, one doctor of psychology and one medical doctor. Anyway, interesting thing happened in San Diego. It went really well. I had a lot of fun with it and had a really well prepared segment, which I'm going to share with you exactly how to do that yourself. And while I was down there, gave a gift to the producer, which is always nice to do. And the producer said, that went really, really great. What about, having you back on, and who knows, maybe even do something on a recurring type basis. Now, first of all, I don't know that I want to go down to San Diego because this was in studio. I don't know that I want to do that on a recurring basis. But the interesting thing is next week, actually 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be going to a conference in San Diego, and we've been back in touch with the producer. And the producer wants to book me for not one more segment, but two more segments back to back. So we created two new segment proposals and are pitching that to them to see if it'll fit with my schedule and with their schedule to get me right back on TV. So a lot of new potential opportunities. I'll even share a little bit more with you. So that's a little bit of the why do you really want to get on television? Well, with every why, and this is just kind of a funny picture, so I liked it, so I thought I would add it. With every opportunity, there are obstacles, right? So what are the big problems that we want to kind of address in this webinar, in this training, and what are the solutions to those challenges? So the problems, as I see it, the primary challenges or obstacles that we're going to face are, number one, how do you overcome being unknown? You're unknown to the producer that could potentially book you. You may make 10 times the amount of money that producer makes, but that producer controls whether you're going to get on the show or not. And if you're completely unknown, like most of us are, even though we have successful businesses, it's not like these producers know who we are. How do we overcome that obstacle with the producer? I'm going to talk a lot about that. Number two, how do you give the producer what he or she wants? How do you know what they want and give them what they want? Furthermore, with number two is not just the producer, but how do you give the mass audience what it is that they want? And obviously I have many different people on this webinar. Let me just look at who's on. So I have, Bob, Carlisle, Emily, you're all in different businesses, whether it's, working, with churches or working in the financial arena or working with doctors. I mean, I'm looking at, I see Joel and John and Julia and Kevin. I mean, you're in very niche and specific industries. So how do you take that and make it something that a mass market would be interested in, make it something that the producer wants to book you on? We're going to talk about that today. How do you give the producer what he or she wants? That's the number two problem we're going to deal with. Number three, okay, once we figure that out, what are the steps to actually getting this done? What are the steps to going from, and really quickly, going from theory to reality? Literally, I went through a training and brought Michelle on as a part of our team just a couple of months ago. And right after that training, within a few hours, I was booked all over the country, put together my segment, figured it all out, started to hustle, and I'll share a little bit about the formula in a minute, and got booked all over with my message addressing these problems. So I'm going to talk exactly how we did it and how you can do the exact same thing, no matter, listen now, no matter how niche specific your topic is. Okay, so let's dive in. That's the why, and that's a bit of the challenges that we're going to be overcoming. So formula. This is the formula. No, not all that. That's just kind of cool. And I thought, if my son ever watched this webinar, he would love that. He could probably answer those solutions. I cannot. So here's our formula for getting on television. And this is what we're going to talk about today and kind of break down really, really specifically. So the formula is C plus AH and WTS plus H and or O, it's and or O equals television. And I'm going to break down each one of these things. It's pretty simple. We got to fancy it up a little bit. That's why I created this. C plus AH and WTS plus H and or O equals TV, and as much TV as your heart desires. So let's jump right into the C. The C, as you might imagine, is credibility. So here's the catch-22 of getting on one of these human interest shows or a Today Show or Good Morning America type show or a news show. The catch-22 is that you get tremendous credibility by being on television, but you need credibility to get on TV in the first place. They're not just going to put anybody on. You have to be somebody that has some credibility. Well, you're going to love this part. This is, in one sense, the easy part for each of you, and that is that your book is, and your best-selling book especially, is your most powerful source of credibility. It is numero uno on the credibility pyramid. And I took that picture because I just thought it was cool that, we had all the books up there. And in fact, in my Texas segment, I spoke for like the first 3 or 4 minutes, it seemed like. Maybe it wasn't that long, but at least 1 or 2 minutes. And you can see it on my media page when it gets up. Our media page is being done. It'll be on the bestsellerpublishing.org website. But, the interesting thing, when we went through this training at KTLA, and it was a long training. I mean, literally, I'm kind of dissecting it all, and I'm going to give you what in an hour or maybe a little bit more what you need to kind of. I've synthesized the 40 or so hours that Michelle and I spent, and synthesized it down to kind of a simple way that you can take your credibility and get yourself on television. But the interesting thing is, as we went around and we were talking about putting together our segments. The person that led the training, each time he spoke to somebody, the very first thing he asked them was, "Are you an author? Do you have a book?" That was the first thing that this trainer said every single time. Several people had books. Actually, a number of people did not have books. Now, I don't recommend what he actually did, but he said, "Okay, let's create your book right now." And what he meant by that was, let's make up a title and let's make up a cover. And even before it's written, let's start using that book to promote you to get you on TV. That's a little scary, seeing as, you should really have your book done before that takes place. But the beautiful thing about those of you that are on this call is that either your book is already completed and we're waiting to finish the launch to make it a bestseller, or it's close to being completed or in the process of being completed, or you're already a best-selling author. You have the number one thing that we were taught and that I've seen by practical example it takes to get on television, and that is you have credibility as a best-selling author. It's powerful and it's beautiful, and it's something that I've seen personally that works, and it's something that I saw in the training every single time that was asked for. This is the media page that we're putting up, and in the process probably put some of my radio stuff on there too. As those of you know, I'd never been on television before, really didn't have an interest in being on television, although it is kind of cool. Joel Landy's on the line, and Joel's done lots of commercials, and if you watch the Golf Channel, you've probably seen Joel a lot doing all those commercials to older guys like me, because he's so handsome and athletic, and I see his wife's on the line too, so don't worry, Julie, I'm not trying to take him away from you. But so Joel understands the power of television from that sense. I've never been on TV before. I did a lot of radio, but the cool thing is when I had my book, my best-selling book, And in fact, I wasn't even talking about my original best-selling book. I was talking about a completely different topic. I immediately got the attention of the producer that books the shows and was able to get myself booked with the help of Michelle on these shows. So that's the C. The C is credibility. And the beautiful thing is you have the most powerful source of credibility, your own book, and especially your own best-selling book. So AH plus WTS is the second part. AH plus WTS, excuse me. The AH is an audience hook. An audience hook. And notice the size of the hook on the screen there. That's a massive hook. I don't know if that's for really big fish or sharks or what that's for, but that's very purposeful. If any of you have worked with me from the very beginning, and I know many of you have worked with me from the very beginning when we're crafting the hook for your book, I'll tell you all the exact same thing, and that is that we want to niche it down and we want to speak to your ideal client, your end result client, the person that you want to work with. We want to niche it down as specifically as possible to that one person. And if we can do that and you can speak your message and hook that one person, then your book is going to be a big success. Well, all of that I've said about creating your book, this is the opposite for TV. Okay? It's the opposite. We're not trying to niche it down and hook one specific type of person. That is not what the producer is interested in. The producer is interested in you having a hook for as large a part of their audience as possible. Okay? They want your topic to appeal to as many people as it can. You have to think masses, not niche. Okay? Now, with that said, that some of you may immediately think, well, I don't work with masses. I mean, I'm looking for whatever, one really specific kind of person. I understand that. And I am too. I mean, not everybody can pay what we charge for our Publish, Promote, Profit program. But the producer is not interested in finding me clients. The producer is interested in me having a powerful segment that will appeal to as many people as possible. And if you want to get on TV, you have to stop thinking for a moment about your individual client and start thinking about the masses. Now, the cool thing is you start getting on TV and you're going to be throwing out really large nets. And in those really large nets, there's going to be lots and lots and lots of little fish that you may not be interested in, or maybe you can't help. But there's going to be some big fish too, and more big fish perhaps than you've ever had before for your business. So you want TV, but you have to start thinking differently. You have to start thinking about creating an audience hook that has mass appeal, not individual appeal. Now, you may have some questions about that and how that applies to your business. If you do, that's totally cool. We'll take some questions at the end and we'll think about those things together. And I'll break down my segment for you guys and show you how I did that with my very, very specific offer as well. Okay, so AH is your audience hook. Okay, next is the WTS. AH plus WTS. Oops, sorry. Let me go back here one. AH plus WTS is having a WTS is having a well thought out segment. Well thought out segment. And here's what I want to do. I want to spend a little bit of time with you guys, and I want to look with you at my segment. Let's see, where did I put it? Here it is. Okay. Make sure you guys can all still see my screen. This is my segment proposal to the producers. And this was what my pitch was to them. And I want to talk to you for a few minutes about how we crafted this, how we came up with the AH, the audience hook, and how we put together the well thought out segment. Okay, so you got your credibility, you have your audience hook, you put together a well thought out segment is the next step. So I highlighted a few things specifically for you guys. First of all, let me just, have you notice this does not look like it was, something that was super professionally done. There's a purpose in that. Now you can totally begin to transform it. But in the beginning, if you're going to be doing this yourself, if you're going to be pitching to producers yourself, you don't want them to think that this is some kind of canned presentation. You want them to think that you are the one that's directly involved with it. So there's some psychology going on here. Now, obviously, if you're paying a publicist, or you want to work with Michelle in her office to do this, then we might do things a little bit differently, although we're still going to use this kind of format. You want this to be something that looks like it came directly from you, because it did. Now, there are certain elements that we want to have in this WTS, this well thought out segment. First element is highlighted here at the top left, available for in-studio interview. By the way, this is exactly how you need to have your segment crafted, okay? And I will have this segment in a Word document so that you guys can just kind of cut and paste yourself. So this will be one of the elements that we'll have on the page here, so that you guys can create your own segments if that's what you're interested in doing. So first, available for in-studio interview. When you get on the phone and when you talk to a producer, the producer is going to ask you, is this a local segment? And what they mean is, are you going to be coming into the studio for this interview? And if you want to get on television and you want to do local TV, then your answer is yes. Okay. Now, after you do 20, 30, 40, 50 in-studio interviews and things are really rocking for you, then maybe you could go to a satellite feed, or maybe once you're on the Today Show or Good Morning America or some national show, you could go more to satellite. But initially, you want to let them know, hey, you're on a media tour, you're going to be traveling, you're going to be in this area, and you want to be booked on television. In fact, if you're booked in a city already, then you want to contact all the other television stations, and you want to let them know that you're already booked right there in San Diego, and you're going to be there on these dates, and that you would like to be booked on their show as well. And guess what? You're going to have the credibility from being a best-selling author, also from already being booked on other stations in that city. They're going to want you as long as you have the available time and they have the available time. So available for in-studio interview is what you're looking for. Next, at the top right, this is what we would call a local or a timely hook. Okay, there are multiple hooks throughout here as far as crafting this big audience hook. The first is if you can find something that has a timeliness to it. You can see what I listed here is that January is National Book Month. So another thing that we're going to have for you, and I need to make a note of this because I had forgotten about this, is we have this crazy calendar. I've never seen anything like it before, that has literally hundreds and hundreds of holidays every single month. As you might imagine, there seems as though there is some kind of national book or national reading thing going on every single month of the year that I have never heard of before. This calendar will have something for every one of you and your specific businesses. So you'll find it when we put up the replay, you'll find it on this page, and you can literally just do a search for your particular topic and it'll take you right to it, whether it's a specific month or specific day or whatever. So you want to have some type of timely hook. If you're in, say the financial services industry, then it might be, some type of, national get your financial act together week or something like that. You'll be surprised at the number of different timely type hooks that you can find. Now, timeliness regarding a hook can take a couple of different forms. The first form I just mentioned to you, the form of a calendar or a holiday or something along those lines. It may also be because something that's going on specifically in the news. I don't know if Kevin's on the line. Kevin and I have spoken about this a number of different times, but Kevin has his book that's specifically about his time in the Secret Service and doing, top secret clearance for people that were interested. And he conducted hundreds and hundreds of interviews. Very, very cool. Very, very cool story, cool book. Obviously, with all the things that are going on in the world that have to do with our national security or the security of the world, there is a timeliness when something happens, maybe when secrets are leaked or something like that, that would make his book and him being a guest on even a national show really, really cool. As a best-selling author, especially on something that's very timely, that could be a great way for someone like Kevin. That's the first thought that I had, but you need to think in terms of what's going on right now in the world or in a local city that might have a direct correlation to what your topic is about. So that's another type of hook. January's National Book Month. Well, every single week, every single day is something, and let's see what applies to you. Secondly, I didn't highlight that, but I specifically talked about a new book release that I have coming out. That's my book, Publish, Promote, and Profit from Your Own Best-Selling Book. That's specifically, of course, dealing with what my segment is about, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. So I have new book release. This is kind of the why. This is what you're showing the producer right from the very beginning. The next line is of the segment is your title or kind of your main theme of your segment. What we found, and you guys have heard this probably if you've been on any of my webinars, you want to have a statistic right below your title. Our statistic is 81% of Americans feel they have a book in them and that they should write it. And that's a direct quote from the New York Times. This is an article that came out some time ago. Obviously, media loves media, so obviously New York Times, very credible. I've just told the producer, look, 81% of your audience thinks they should write a book and that they have a book in them. What I tell the producer when I get on the phone with them, and what's part of my pitch to them, is that less than 1% of Americans, even though 81% want to write a book and believe they have a book in them, less than 1% ever complete it. So my hook becomes the 3 mistakes to avoid dying with your book still inside you. That's the idea. The idea is let's speak directly to the audience. Let's tell the audience they want to write a book. They've been thinking about writing a book, but they never do. They never get around to it. So here are the 3 big mistakes to avoid dying with this book still inside you. That begins to immediately appeal to the producer because the producer sees, wow, 81% of my audience is interested in writing a book. Who knows? Maybe even the producer was interested in writing a book. Now I've got their attention and I've hooked them. So any type of mass market topic is going to be super easy. Now, all of your topics, we can find a great mass hook for the audience. Some of your topics, it will be a no-brainer. When it comes to things that every American cares about, things like their job security, or things like their money, their bank account, or things like their health, all of those things, major topics, they care deeply about those things. Not 81%, but every American cares about those things, and not just American. I know I have clients from all over the world. Every country, they care about their money, they care about their health, they care about their relationships. These are mass market appealing topics that you can fit your specific hook and your best-selling book in. Okay? So we have, again, the big hook. We have a statistic. You'll have to come up with something like that. Google, certainly easy place for you to find that. We then go into what the segment is about. According to Rob Cosberg, author of Publish, Promote, and Profit from Your Own Best-Selling Book, there are 3 huge mistakes to avoid dying with your book still inside you. I give them the 3 big mistakes, and I did that in a way to make it even more appealing to their audience. I celebritized these 3 big mistakes. That's the next hook when it comes to you creating a great hook that your audience, that the mass audience and the producer would be interested in. You see, audiences are always interested in celebrities. Producers are always interested in celebrities. And if you've given them away, if you've given them a tie-in from your topic to a celebrity, that maybe they can flash that celebrity's picture up on the screen, maybe they can run some B-roll of that celebrity along with your particular topic, they're going to love it. They're going to eat it up because uh, they know their audience loves celebrities. So we created these three mistakes around these celebrities. Yes, it took a little bit of time and it took a little bit of thought, but this can be done for all of you. So the first mistake, I actually clarified it, and I started with Kim Kardashian, but I'll start just the way it is on the paper. So number one is I call the Tony Robbins trouble. And if you watched any of my segments, then you already know what these things are. But I thought first, what are the three big mistakes that people make that prevent them from writing their book? That was the first thing I did in creating my segment. Okay, what are those three big mistakes? And I thought number one big mistake is people. What stops people from writing their book is thinking, well, someone else has already written on that topic. Someone's already written a financial book. Someone's already written a book about health. There are only a million books about health. There are only a million books about finance. There's only a million books about achievement or success or fill in the blank. Listen, never, never, never let the fact that somebody else has already written about your topic stop you because your experiences are different. You already know that. You're authors. But a lot of people, that does stop them in their tracks. So I called it the Tony Robbins trouble. You can see on the right here, I put a copy of Tony's new book called Money Mastering the Game right there in the segment proposal. And I let the producer know, look, someone might say, why do we need another book on money? And yet that didn't stop Tony from writing his book on money. Tony wrote his book. It became a New York Times and a Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller because it had his specific skill set and knowledge within it. So never let somebody else's, writings or books stop you from writing yours. I called that Tony Robbins trouble. Kim Kardashian conundrum was the second. And again, I kind of reversed those. The Kim Kardashian conundrum is oftentimes people want to write their own autobiography or their own story. The problem is if no one knows who you are, they're not interested in your story. They're interested in their story. They're interested in how they can improve their lives. If you're Kim Kardashian, you can take a selfie of you in the bathroom and everyone's interested in it. If you're Hillary Clinton, you'll get a $3 million book advance because you're going to tell, about the secrets from your time in the White House. But for 99.9% of the rest of us, we need to think first for the audience. So I celebritized that. I thought, okay, don't write your autobiography, write for your audience. You guys have heard me say that 100 times. And all I did is switch it around and I thought, okay, who are people interested in that could actually write a book and they'll be like, oh, I'd love to read about Kim Kardashian. Media loves Kim Kardashian. Then the last one, Ernest Hemingway error, I called it, and that is thinking that you must be a writer. Point being, most important point being, that I focused on celebritizing those three big mistakes. You'll need to do the exact same thing in putting your segment proposal together. You want to have pictures of these celebrities. You want to have a way for them maybe to get some B-roll, and when they're talking about your upcoming segment, they can flash not your picture on the screen necessarily, they will do that, but a picture of Kim Kardashian or Hillary Clinton or Tony Robbins or whoever. Next, when we discuss the three problems, we have to discuss the three solutions. So my three solutions very quickly were publish, promote, and profit. Something that they love on segments is they love props. So as you can see from the segments that I showed in the previous slide, I brought copies of many of your books. And on different segments, I'm going to do this every single time. When I go to Spokane, I'm going to do it. When I go to Burlington, I'm going to do it. When I go back down to San Diego, I'm going to do it. We're working now on some local segments here in LA. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put different books in because I want to show them, look, here are authors that were dreaming of writing a book all their life, and they finally done it. Look, you can do it too. And that will be an opportunity to promote your books. Again, it's props, so you'll have to think what your props are, but mine, obvious books. Prop number 2, a megaphone. Prop number 3, a $100 bill. I talked about profiting. So I've talked about this a great deal. If you want to speak and you have some specific questions about your segment, we can hit that. But what's important is that you have a great audience hook, and you have to think mass appeal, not niche, the opposite of writing your book. Niche is for writing your book. mass appeal is for getting on television. And then you want a well thought out segment so that when you pitch to a producer, when you get in front of a producer on the telephone, that producer knows immediately, okay, this isn't someone that just thinks they're going to come in and then wait to be asked questions on set. No, this is someone that's prepared, and this is someone that has something of interest because it has all of these hooks, whether timely, like January being National Book Month, or mistakes, or appealing to a wide audience, or celebrity and props, etc. Okay? Hope that makes sense. As I said, I'm making a list here of some of the different items that we're going to have on this page, so I'll have that calendar for you guys as well as this segment proposal. Let me make myself a note here so you can have that as well. Okay? This is really, really big part of it. When you have your best-selling book for credibility, and when you have a really great audience hook and a great segment proposal, you are 90% through to getting yourself booked on television. Now, you're not all the way through because there's a little bit more, like actually getting in touch with the right people at the right time. So let's talk about what those are. That's the H and the O. The H and the O. The H stands for hustle. Hustle. Hard work, focus, and or O is and or you have other people do it, or you also have other people to help you to do it. Now I'm laying all of this out for you guys so that you can put together a great segment proposal for yourself. But if you're going to do this by yourself, just understand you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to work hard to get your segment proposal to get together. You're going to have to work hard to make sure you have a great audience hook. You can get advice in the bestseller mastermind group and begin talking about, hey, I want to get on television. Here's what I think my hook is. What do you guys think? I know I see Nicolene is on. Nicolene, your book has been doing fantastic. Congratulations. Really proud of you, and we've barely just begun. We still have your launch schedule, I think, for next week or the week after. And of course, you've written a book that appeals to every single parent out there that's interested in helping their kids to achieve. Anytime there's something in the news having to do with education getting cut, or something in the news having to do with a teacher scandal, or something having to do with school starting back up again. What a great time for you to get on television because you appeal to such a mass audience. It's going to take some hustle to do that. Here's what we did, and these are some more items that we'll have for you on this page. We've put together lists of the top a couple hundred, 200-300 television stations, network kind of markets for ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and the contact information for the producer of that show. Now, just understand this changes quite often. Now, maybe not at the highest levels like Good Morning America, etc., but a couple of suggestions when it comes to hustling if you're going to do this for yourself. Number one, start in the smaller markets. I told you I started in the smaller markets because if you're going to mess up, and you probably will, then you want to mess up in the smallest possible market. My wife, she watched my San Diego segment, and she's like, honey, maybe you could, sit up straighter next time. And then I saw the segment. I'm like, oh man, I'm slumping over like, some 80-year-old dude. I look awful. So if you notice all the rest of the segments, man, I'm just sitting up nice and straight. I messed up there. My segment proposal, I practice it, so I think I did a pretty good job with it, but there are several other things. I don't think I smile enough. I think I need to smile more. I mean, there's just several things when it comes to, being in front of the camera that I don't know. I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to do a better job. So you start in the smaller markets. Don't get on the phone to Good Morning America and the early show and CNN and try to pitch. Get some credibility first by being on 10, 15, 20 local shows with your specific topic. So we have TV stations for you guys. I also have compiled, we bought a bunch of different lists for you. I've compiled the top 1,000 radio stations. Obviously, radio is different than TV, but in one sense, it's the same idea. You need to have these same pieces: the credibility, the audience hook, a really well thought out segment proposal. Um, when you have those things, fortunately with radio, you don't have to travel. You can, just get on the telephone and do it through a phone interview or through the internet directly. But we have the top 1,000 or so radio stations for you all the way across the country. We have some other things too when it comes to PR. I'll put it all up on this page, but we have like the top magazine contacts if you want to be a contributing author, etc. So several different things for you kind of in conjunction with this particular webinar. Also, what we did is we put together a really simple script. This is what we used to get me booked on these shows. What you're going to find is one of the more challenging things is actually getting the producer on the phone. I probably personally made 20 telephone calls and spoke to 5 producers and basically read this script with some practice. Now, this isn't the whole script. There's more that's cut off. But of the 5 producers that I spoke to, 3 or 4 of them booked me right there on the spot. I got them on the telephone and they booked me. So the script, it's really simple. It's getting on the phone. You're going to get the gatekeeper. Hi, can I please speak to the producer who books the guest? They may say which show. If they have multiple shows, you'll simply say, whichever show focuses on human interest stories. Okay, great. That's Joe. Let me put you through to Joe. So you'll make a note. It's Joe that I need to speak to, because next time you call back, you're going to ask for Joe. Hey, Joe, are you the producer who books the guest? Yes, I am. They're going to feel at that moment a little like, oh, shoot. I didn't want to pick up the phone. I wish I didn't pick up the phone. It's just the truth. They get hundreds of emails and telephone calls to be booked, but they're not going to get any like you, because you're a best-selling author and because you are so well prepared. So you're going to go right into your pitch. Your pitch is nothing more than you going through your segment proposal. Every single one that I got booked on went exactly like this, guys. I went reading exactly through this script, and I'm just gonna play with it for a second. I'm going to show you exactly how it went. Hi, can I speak to the producer who books the guests? Sure, that's Joe. Let me put you through to him. Ring, ring. Joe picks up. Hey, this is Joe. Hey, Joe, are you the producer who books the guests? Yes, I am. Fantastic. You're just the person I need to talk to. My name's Rob Kosberg. I'm a #1 best-selling author, and I have a new book called Publish, Promote, and Profit with Your Own Best-Selling Book. I've taught thousands of authors how to become bestsellers, and I've got a great segment for you tied into January being National Book Month and a New York Times article. Listen, every single one of them stopped me before I could finish this. They said, okay, stop right there, because I was rolling. They said, stop right there. Do you have your calendar in front of you? Yes, I do. All right, let's book you right now. Let's get you on. And I'm not exaggerating. Now, Michelle did the exact same thing with the exact same result. She booked me on more shows than I booked myself on. But I'm telling you from my own perspective, because if you're going to be doing this yourself, it's going to work exactly like that. Now, look, nobody likes to make these kind of calls. It's not like the funnest thing to do. But if you want to get on television, it might take 20 phone calls to get in front of, on the telephone with 5 people. When you're well thought out and well put together, as I just described to you, in just a couple sentences, I could let Joe, the producer, know that I'm a #1 best-selling author. Bam, credibility. I have a new book out, Publish, Promote, and Profit. Interesting. Okay, that has a little bit of a hook to it. I've taught thousands of people, and here's the kicker: 81% of all Americans feel they have a book inside them and that they should write it. Bam, first audience. Almost every one of them stopped me right at that point. No one asked for more information. Now, I have more to this script that I'm going to give to you guys, but just understand that when everything is well put together and you're a best-selling author, so you have that credibility, they're going to want to book you, and they're going to want to book you right there on the spot. Okay? That's our formula. C is credibility. That's what you have. You're an author. You're a best-selling author. That's a big deal. 90% of the people that are trying to get on their shows, maybe they're authors, maybe they're not, but most of them, they're not best-selling authors. If you have a well thought out segment and a great hook that appeals to a mass with that credibility, and you put a little bit of hustle in, or you have others hustle for you, you're going to get on television. It's just that simple. That is your formula for doing it. I want to say a couple of other things, but I want to open it up here for questions because I've been going nonstop for about 45 minutes. So let's open it up for questions. Type in the question box, guys, if you have any specific questions for me. I'd like to know. Just go ahead and type in. I also like to get some feedback. What are your thoughts? What's your interest in TV? That sort of thing. So go ahead. We'll take a few seconds, and I'll wait for you guys to type any questions that you have in there. By the way, if any of you guys are interested in getting on TV, but as I've explained all this, you've said to yourselves, I am not going to do that. I mean, that's why I brought Michelle on. I brought Michelle on so that we could serve the authors in a publicist role and get them on television, on the radio, etc., and do it in a guaranteed fashion. Some of you guys know this, some of you probably don't, that have dealt with publicity. Publicists never, ever, ever guarantee their work. In the last several years that I've been doing this, I've had a number of publicists contact me and tell me, Rob, we would really love your referrals. I mean, we work with authors, especially best-selling authors, and we get them booked on TV, etc. And I would always ask them, okay, what do you charge? And they would say something like, well, we charge $5,000, and that would give them 2 months of working with us, and maybe we could throw in a third month as a special for your clients. I would say, terrific. Do you guarantee your work? And they would say, well, yes, we guarantee that we're going to pitch them to all of these different stations. I said, that's not what I mean. I mean, if my client gives you $5,000, do you guarantee that they're going to get on television? And every single publicist that ever contacted me always said the same thing, and that was no. No one can guarantee that they're going to get on the radio or on television or some type of podcast or blog or author piece. Then I said, then I'm not going to refer you if you can't guarantee that. I want to deal in guarantees. That's part of why I decided to do this myself. Now it's cool, and I'm going to keep doing it, but absolutely the reason I did it was because I wanted to do it so that we could lay the foundation to do it for you guys if you're interested in that. So, all right, so let's see if you guys have some questions. Yvonne says this is great. Hey, Yvonne, what time is it in Australia? It must be Saturday. Thanks for being on the line. Great to see you. Nicolene, does BSP offer this as a service? Yes, we do. We do. And if you want to contact Michelle in the office, then we can talk about what that would look like. We are just starting to do this, so everything that I just laid out for you guys is not a sales webinar. I'm not selling anything to you. You do this and you're going to get yourself booked on TV. If you don't want to do it, then we will do this for you and get you booked. So you can absolutely positively, schedule a call just schedule it with me, and we'll talk through what a great fit may be, and we can do that next week if you're interested in it. So good question, Nicolene. Thanks again for all you've done. You have been just awesome to work with. Yvonne, motivated to get my book done, all those exclamation points. Yeah, I know, Yvonne, we were supposed to get your book done before Frankie came. So absolutely, we got to do that. John says, will Michelle be able to help us with this? I'm new to this, but ready to go. Absolutely, John. If you want us to do it for you, we can certainly do it for you. That is no problem, my friend. We can. Jeff says, great presentation, Rob. You couldn't have made it any easier. Thanks, my friend. This is really exciting. Thanks for everything you do. My pleasure. Thank you for sharing that. That's very, very encouraging. And I'm telling you, you can do this, Jeff. You totally can. You got a great niche, as I said. I mean, everybody cares about their money. And the giant baby boomer population that you are specifically serving and speaking to, you have a message for them that is really, really important. So I would make TV a part of what you want to do to get your message out there. 10 a.m. on Saturday. Frankie says hi. Thanks, Yvonne. That's beautiful. Joel, fantastic job, Rob. Super thorough. Will being a best-selling author on Amazon be considered second-tier accomplishment compared to the New York Times? Okay, so number one, it is absolutely not a second-tier accomplishment. It is a first-tier accomplishment in every way. Now, can you compare it to the New York Times bestseller list? If you're a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal bestseller, look, there's very, very few of those. So that is that is primo in every way. But here's the deal: I got booked on 8 different shows and on some pretty major in some pretty major markets, like San Diego. It's a top. I don't know what is this top 20 or top 50 market, Michelle, in the U.S. It's a big market. Three Number 28, 3.5 million people. Nobody asked me, well, you're a best-selling author. Where were you a best-selling author? So no, absolutely not. It is not considered anything but top tier to be a best-selling author. And Amazon sells more books than the next 10 publishers combined. So it is a massive market. It's massive exposure for you, my friend. So very, very good. Good question. Kevin Jackson, will you make the list for producers? Absolutely. All those lists, Kevin, that I showed you there, the producers, the radio, everything is for you guys. Absolutely. All that stuff is for you. I will have all of that on this page. If you're watching this as a recording, then it's all right here on this page. Everything is available for you guys. Emily says, wow, you laid this out in such a manner that makes it seem very doable. It is, I promise you, Emily. I've never been on television. I've been told I have a face for radio. I have never been on TV before. I just did exactly what I shared with you guys, and then I hustled, and Michelle hustled, and we booked me all over. And I'm telling you, you can do this. You absolutely can do this. You have to have these elements in place. You got to get your book finished. It's got to be a bestseller. When that equals your credibility plus the audience hook and the well thought out segment, you put that in front of a producer and they're going to know immediately, this lady is serious. She knows what she's talking about. She's going to be great with my guest. They're going to know that immediately because they get so many bozos. They get so many people that are interested in being on TV, but they have no hook. They're not best-selling authors. They have nothing that is appealing to their entire audience and that's well thought out. They don't have that. If you put these elements together, I'm telling you, you're gonna get exactly what I did. You can do it. Let's see. Kevin Jackson says, "Tell Michelle, Bill Maher, here we come." Yeah, maybe. I mean, I went up to Bakersfield. Bakersfield's not a big market. It's a tiny town, especially for the Los Angeles area. Interesting thing though, it's like the number 125 market in the U.S. So it's not, it's not totally rinky-dink. I went up there and I did 2 segments earlier this week, and really. Michelle went up there with me, really on top of it staff. I mean, they were fun. They were, all, good looking folks, just like really at the top of their game. And a couple of them had told us, yeah, we were here, we were in Provo, Utah. And, so they're always looking to move to the bigger markets. So after, my segment, I did 2 segments kind of back to back. One like the first hour at 7:30, and then one the second hour at 8:30 because they wanted both the segments done. And after that was done, I said to the producer, and this is kind of a little tip here. I didn't include this in the presentation, but hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to see this happening with us because I'm really interested in doing this now that I've done a little bit of TV. We sat down with the executive producer, and I said, hey, do you mind, Eric, if I ask you a couple of questions? I want to get your vibe on this, and I want to see what your thoughts are. And I had this thought out before, obviously, I presented it to him. But I said, I was thinking, how well received, because he was like, oh, you did a great job. That was a great segment, et cetera. I said, thank you. Can we have like 5 minutes of your time? I want to talk to you. And I said, how well do you think your audience, seeing as, again, 81% of your audience is interested in writing a book, et cetera, said, how well do you think your audience might receive, some type of ongoing segment, recurring segment where I come in and I answer your audience's questions about writing a book. Something like ask the publisher. Because the interesting thing is, from these segments, we've gotten emails, telephone calls, tons of social media contact of people that are asking all these questions. And again, no matter what your topic is, if it has a mass appeal, then there are going to be hundreds of people that are interested in asking you, the expert, the best-selling author who's on TV. We want to get questions answered. He goes, you know what? He goes, if you're willing to do that, he goes, I think that would be a fantastic segment. Maybe we could do it, a couple times a month. Maybe we could do it once a month, however, much you're willing to maybe travel up here. And I said, oh, that's great. I was just feeling him out. Honestly, I don't know that I'm willing to travel up there certainly every other week. I mean, it's about an hour and a half drive, maybe once a month. I don't know. But the interesting thing is this can lead very easily. You do a good job one time, that could very easily lead into some type of recurring segment. If you know my story, and I want to get to some of your questions here, but I just want to say this. If you know my story, you know that when I started my business, Crown Financial, back in 2009, and it was, on the foundation of my best-selling book, Life After Debt, it all started with me pitching that book to local radio stations and basically saying, hey, look, I'm the financial expert. I would love to, maybe do a little spot here as the financial expert. I'm a best-selling author. And I had a couple of radio stations kind of take the bait. I didn't know any of this stuff. I just threw it out there and tried it. And so I started doing this 2-minute segment on the radio called All Things Financial. And it was, questions that they put out on their social media pages and their email list, and I would come in and I'd answer those questions 2 minutes. Well, 2 minutes grew to 15 minutes, 15 minutes grew to 30 minutes, 30 minutes grew to 4 hours of live radio a week where we were doing a call-in radio show. And all that started because I did this little 2-minute segment that people liked and it appealed. That same thing can happen for you guys. Same thing. And I'm thinking that I might want to do something like that on television. So Michelle and I are moving in the direction of me maybe doing a more recurring spot, but ideally I want to do it in LA. LA is one of the top 5 markets in the US, and I live in LA, so it would be a major coup if I could. But if I can, you guys can too. So John Smith says, Oprah for me, LOL. That's great. Yvonne, have you seen a bigger number of people going to your website? Absolutely. Or were you pointing people to your book? Yvonne, I was pointing people to my website several times. And this is part of my error in all of it. That's, again, why you start in smaller markets, because you make mistakes. I forgot even to say my website. I didn't say go to bestsellerpublishing.org and you can get a free copy of my blah, 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 my book or whatever. I didn't even say that. And that was my mistake. Now, what they did for us is they did put my link up on their sites, and we've had tons of traffic driven to our websites, tons of traffic on social media. We've had people call in to my office saying that they saw me on television. People contact me on Facebook and Twitter saying that they saw me on TV. So, something that I at least want to preface, all of what I just said to you is true, but let me preface it by saying this. TV is like any other media. If you send out one postcard pitching your offer, you're probably not going to get results. If you do one radio spot, you're probably not going to get results. If you put one Facebook ad out there for a week, probably not going to get results. So if you want to do TV, you need to think in terms of TV being part of your whole media plan. And that's something that Michelle and I are going to be mapping out over the next year. I've already told her, I've traveled a lot here at the beginning of the year. I typically don't like to travel. So what I really want to do is I want to schedule maybe 2 or 3 media tours a year. And I'll travel to, hopefully larger markets and do some television and then be back home. Because, again, TV, like any other media, needs to be something that you're focused on. It's not just one and done. It's something that, ideally you would get a recurring segment, or you just keep showing up until you hit it big, if that's what your goal is, like a Susie Orman here in the States or something along those lines. So Yvonne says, that's awesome. Beautiful. Good. So, wow, that flew by. We've been going about an hour and a half. No, we haven't. We've been going about an hour. Okay. So, guys, tell me other questions that you might have. I don't see any other questions. I think I've beat the horse as much as I can, and I love horses. So that's. And if Corinne is on the line, we're doing her equestrian book. She's going to be mad at me. I don't beat horses, don't worry. But I think we've covered the topic pretty thoroughly. If you don't have any other questions, then I'll sign off. On this page, there will be a page. We'll put up, of course, the recording. And on the recording page, if you're watching this recording on this page, we'll have the calendar I talked about. We'll have the script I talked about. We'll have my segment proposal I talked about. We'll have all of the producers' information, television, radio, for several other media sources, including magazines, etc. All for you guys. That's all part of it. So hopefully that will be helpful. Yvonne says, gotta go. Talk soon. Kevin says the audio is going rough, but look forward to it. It's good. So guys, I will go ahead and cut it there. I don't see any other questions. That's about it. I hope this was really helpful to you. Do me a favor, post in the Facebook group for people to go back and watch this if you felt this was helpful for you, and it'll be helpful for them as well. John says, thank you, John. Thanks so much for being online, guys. You are awesome. We have a fabulous group, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Talk to you again soon. Bye bye.